What is up? It is the Virtual Wizard, and I kind of want to start this video right away with a little bit of a storytelling, if I may. This story is hilarious to me. It just shows how I thought back in the day and what my thought process was like. And this is a story about how I obtained Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition from my grandmother, and just how it was back then. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss this.
Now, we're talking about the early 90s here. Now, in the early 90s, honestly, there was kind of no such thing as a retro video game store, because the games we collect now that are retro were urban at the time. People all over the world would go to the mall, mine specifically the Cambridge Side Galleria Mall located in Massachusetts. Now, the nostalgia of going to the mall gets me emotional because it was an eventful place. And now that malls don't seem to be as important as they were back in the day, I'll always remember the feeling of experiencing multiple stores with my family and seeing what we would leave with. Now, a lot of people would shop at Walmart, Bradley's, Toys R Us, but I found this specific game at KB Toys. Now, if you don't know what KB Toys is, it was a magical place. They had Barbies, action figures, all that good stuff. I literally never wanted to leave that store, especially because they sold video games. It was literally a place where when I couldn't get to Toys R Us at the moment, I would go there. And it was satisfying because it was freaking amazing.
Now, one thing you gotta understand is that my brother and we did have a Super Nintendo. We just didn't own Street Fighter 2 for the Super Nintendo. My cousin Gil did. Our cousin Gil did. And he would bring it over all the time. And that game was like $39.99, $49.99, something around there. And that was a big deal back in the 90s. But Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition, for some reason, at this particular time in the mall, was on sale for $14.99. So I had to get that. Keep up with the story.
So now it's around October 1993, and I remember sitting in my living room watching this commercial of this old security guard at a toy store, and he looks at Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition, and he's like, wow. And I remember a monster's arm just pops right through the game, grabs Mortal Kombat, squishes it, and I'm like, holy Then it starts showing this awesome gameplay of characters fighting each other and saying now it's available on Sega Genesis. And I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get this, like, immediately. So I'm laying in bed thinking about the Cambridge Side Galleria Mall, thinking about all the gaming magazines I've been reading, the Game Pros, the Nintendo Powers, and wondering to myself, is this my opportunity to finally get myself my own copy?
So I asked my grandmother, can we go to the mall? She agrees, because she had some shopping to do anyway. So we go to the mall, and she does some of her shopping, and I asked her if we can go to KB Toys. She agrees. She says the number one thing that hurts every kid: you're not getting anything. Now that hit me right here. But I told her, Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition, it's on sale for $14.99. She could care less. She said, I told you, Jordan, you're not getting anything. So I tried to negotiate. They let it be an early birthday present, things of that nature. She wasn't buying it. So I did what I thought I knew I was doing, which was trying to get one up on her. And at the time I was only 5 years old. I didn't know anything about bank accounts and handling money and checkbooks. So I said, why don't you just write a check for $15? That'll work. And she's like, no. I thought a check was like infinite money. I didn't know. So she says no. That's why I thought it was kind of funny, because I thought that you could just write checks and just like it was just like coupon money. And I never got Street Fighter 2 Special Champion Edition until 2 weeks later, when she finally agreed to take me back to the mall, and we got it. And when I tell you that that game stuck with me for so long, I mean that. Like, I played that religiously. Special Champion Edition was a great game. Um, it was just a little. The colors were a little dark. The numbers at the top of the screen were a little dark. Um, the voice acting was a little muffled, and um, the everything was a little scruffy looking. But it still held up. It wasn't as good as the Super Nintendo, but I loved that game so much. I hope you enjoyed my story. It just showed how I was back then, what my thought process was, like I said before, like when I was a kid. But every time I play this game or I see this game, in general, I always go back to that day at KV Toys back in the early 90s with my grandmother. I'm glad y'all are here to listen to my stories, and definitely more to come. See you soon.